Hello, hello, hello. What is up? This is Zilla's Sport Network. This is the ZSN. This is February the 3rd, 2021. This is ZSN's Hoops Hysteria. Want to welcome all of you in. I am your fearless host, Mr. Kwafo Adakwa, aka Spartan Zilla, out here in these DFS streets with a lineup block show. We do this once a week because that's all I can fit in. It's once a week we do with the intent on making you guys better DFS players. We've got a big slate, 10 games. So we've been doing our live show here for about a month and a half, since we got switched out of NFL. So we're rocking and rolling and having a good time with it. So I appreciate all of you that are out there. I see people already in the chat, so love to see that. Appreciate all of you out there. The way the show goes, if you don't already know by now, is that we welcome you, as I just did. We then go into an overview. We take you position by position. We kind of develop some strategies and how we might want to think about working through the slate. And then I give you the Zilla's Hoops crew, and then we go over some Q&A. So that's how we will do it on this Wednesday night in the association. So big slate, 10 games, 10 fun games, some that we can kind of maybe X out of the slate. But we will take a look at all the different kind of permutations, but we'll get into this in the breakdown as we go position by position. But sometimes it's best to just focus in on a game or two and focus in your efforts on stacking those games and just breaking down 10 instead of going through 10 games and different permutations. Just go ahead and try to break down a couple targets, and we'll talk about this a little bit here a little bit later, but looking at a couple targets is kind of the best way maybe to attack these 10-game slates. As I've talked about before, I also very much enjoy playing a late slate on something like this because you get a little bit of edge. Maybe people chasing bad lineups. We did this in football. There's some success there. So without further ado, because we have a lot of big slates to go over, let's go position by position. So shall we? First position, point guard, the lead dog, the person you want to rock with. And so for me tonight, and again, my focus has been on DraftKings, but most of the stuff is applicable for both sites. A play is usually good. There's pricing differences between the two major sites, but most of the time, if I'm talking about a particular play, you can just assume that, it's the focus is DraftKings, but, it's probably for the most part, the people I've pulled out are going to be good either way you slice it, on both sides. With that being said, with that as a backdrop, let's go. Point guard. So at the top, we have Luka Doncic, Luka legend, going up against Atlanta, who's been a little bit better defensively than last year, but they're still not great. He's going to get Trae Young defense, or they may put someone else on him to slow him down a little bit. He's at the top. He's very expensive on both sites. I personally am not going to play Luka. I can't tell you necessarily to fade him, but I think the slate is so big and there's a lot of different spots you can go. So he is a top player. He's probably at the end of the night going to be the best point guard in terms of raw points. But again, we live in a salary cap sort of situation with these two major sites. And so Luka, top of the thing, but I'm probably not going to play him just because I want to do some other things in my lineup. Trae Young, who's going on the other side of him, has been filling it up lately. And so Trae, for me, is a guy that I am looking at using potentially tonight with those wild Atlanta Hawks. De'Aaron Fox, now that's the guy. If you're optimizing, I know we're getting close to lock. You're optimizing. I use De'Aaron Fox a lot. The guy has really started to develop the full all-around offensive game. He's being more aggressive. He's getting in the lane. So De'Aaron Fox, lock button for me. But I've got him down here as third on my point guard list. And then Malcolm Brogdon, often under-owned, really not used the way he probably should be for DFS purposes. Just fills it, just gets it done. If you go back through those game logs, it is a model of consistency. So Malcolm Brogdon, very usable piece tonight in that Indiana matchup as they take on his former team in the Milwaukee Bucks. My sleepers at the position, not much of a sleeper with this guy, Theo Maledon from Oklahoma City. Everyone's going to use him given the fact that, SGA is out tonight. And then Ish Smith, who's back in the fold. That guy is just a consummate professional. Ish Smith has been a guy that has found his home. He's been around this league back and forth, but he's a consummate point guard. So I don't mind using Ish Smith. You got to watch the ownership. We'll go into that maybe a little bit. If I got time at the end, we'll kind of take a last little look at ownership from a couple places that I like to look. But that's my point guard tree. Luka, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Malcolm Brogdon, sleepers, Ish Smith, Theo Maledon. Boom, let's go to shooting guard. Shooting guard without Russell Westbrook tonight. Give me some Bradley Beal. He is a very viable choice here. His usage goes through the roof without Russ in the fold. So Bradley Beal, very viable on both sides. You're going to pay up for him, but you're probably going to get that production you need. Also, Zach LaVine from the Bulls tonight, very good participant in the evening's event. He's got the Knicks. Defensively, they've gotten better with Tom Thibodeau, so I think using LaVine is a very viable piece for us tonight in his matchup against the Knicks. Like to see what he can do, even with that defensive change and look there. The other guy I'm looking at, Paul George tonight. I don't have news on Kawhi as of yet. Looking, efforting, seeing what's going on with Kawhi. I don't see that he's not playing. So still like Paul George in this matchup. Like the other two shooting guards, maybe a slight bit better. You might get PG-13 at lower ownership tonight, so think about that. The guy I'm lock butting at this position, Victor Oladipo. Looking at without John Wall, usage goes whoop, 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 up through the roof. Between Fox and then now Oladipo, you start to see the beginnings of a very strong lineup for the evening's events. My sleeper at the position here on a place like DraftKings is my guy Emmanuel Quickley. Also in that New York-Chicago game, Quickley was filling it up in college and has shown no signs of slowing down here in the pros. It's just a matter of time before Elf Payton gets the Ziggy and Quickley gets into that starting lineup, plays a little point guard, plays a little shooting guard, is just a very, very DFS-friendly player. So Emmanuel Quickley with the Knicks is a very viable choice on tonight's slate. So shooting guard, Beal, LaVine, PG-13, Oladipo, sleeper Quickley. Let's move it on to small forward. Small forward for me, a place you can get a little different. Kawhi for me is fourth on my list. Let's go to the other three I've got. Jaylen Brown, really coming to his own. Looks like there may be an all-star game this year. He's got to be one of the East all-stars, maybe even a starter. It depends. I mean, his teammate gets a lot of shine, but Jaylen Brown just gets it done night in, night out. So Jaylen Brown tops the list for me in that game against the Kings tonight, like Jaylen Brown. Jimmy Buckets Butler coming back from COVID. He looked thin. He looked gaunt. I was like, man, what's wrong with Jimmy Butler? All he's done since he's come back, fill up the stat sheet. Love Jimmy Buckets tonight going against Washington, who does not play defense. Brandon Ingram, often under-owned. Most people go to Zion still. Now, understanding that Ingram gets a lot of usage, and Ingram is really the play off of that team, for most slates that you're going to have. So love him at small forward. Then the aforementioned Kawhi, just have him down here a little bit because there's a pricing situation. I can get those other guys a little bit cheaper depending on the site. You shop around which site you want to go to. So I can get those guys cheaper. So I'm looking at Kawhi as fourth on my small forward list. My two sleepers at this position, Jeremy Lamb from Indiana and See, this is what happens. You see, I'll show you my shot sheet. I can't even read my own hand. Oh, I think I know who that is. We're not even going that. We're just gonna go with Jeremy Lamb. I don't even want that. I'm crossing that name off. That's on my list. Crossing it off. That's from earlier today. Only sleeper at the position, Jeremy Lamb from Indiana. That's where you go. So what happens? Got the shot sheet right here. Boom. Can't even read your own handwriting. Let's go over to small forward again. Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, Kawhi Leonard, Jeremy Lamb. Power forward, Giannis at the top. Again, just like Luka, not going to play Giannis tonight. He's just too pricey, too expensive on the sites. I mean, I can do so much on a 10-game slate. Is it a 3-game slate? Okay. Is this a turbo slate? Okay, maybe you go with Giannis. But Giannis, even in a good match, I mean, Indiana's probably a neutral matchup for him. He's 11K on DraftKings. When I drop down and talk about some of these other guys, I'd much rather get those guys. And if I get burned with 70 points from Giannis, all right, well, close up the laptop, go watch some Netflix, watch some Bridgerton or something like that. I don't know. Do that. But Giannis is at the top just when we're ranking them in terms of their potential output. I'm going to go with Julius Randle, who's just been filling it up. Julius Randle has been filling up the shot sheets. Sorry, I broke concentration because I saw somebody's quote about my Bridgerton. I don't really watch it. I'm just saying Bridgerton is something you could get into. Some people get into it. I'm not one, but I'm just saying if your roster is done for the night, you might have to go that way. All right, Julius Randle, filling it, getting it done as a Knicks kind of star player and a team that doesn't have a superstar. Julius Randle, give me him tonight. Really like what he's going to bring to the table. Really against Chicago, who doesn't really scare me defensively. Billy Donovan, not known as a defensive coach. Give me Julius Randle. Jason Tatum, we talked about Brown on the other side. Tatum as well. You're starting to pick up a theme here between Boston and Sacramento. Maybe they could be in my list when we get to the strategy piece. So Tatum I like a lot tonight. Domantas Sabonis from Indiana going up against Milwaukee. Consistent. Just fills it. Points, rebounds, block. He just fills it up. Often under owned. My sleeper here, Rui Hachimura from Washington. Rui was stroking it last night. Just had buckets galore. I think he had 24 real points. Really good player, really good prospect for Washington. Without Russell taking up all of that usage, he's a guy who can get it done in this matchup tonight. So give me Rui at a low price. I'm looking at his price. He's going up against Miami. It's 5,400 on DraftKings. You could do so much worse than that. So give me Rui Hachimura as a sleeper. Power forward, Giannis, Randle, Tatum, Sabonis, Rui. Check it. Let's go to center. The top, my guy, the process, Joel Embiid, who is playing at an MVP level. Embiid is going to eat against Charlotte and Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller, not feeling him at all in terms of his defense and what he can do going up against the process. This guy is just playing at another level. So Embiid all day long today. Bam Adebayo, the center coming out of Miami. Now they're getting their pieces back. Give me Bam tonight going up against Washington, who's really depleted in the front court. So Bam should eat tonight. We're talking 15 and 15. I mean, a strong double-double tonight. Clint Capella, who all he does is gobble rebounds. Dallas has nobody in the middle. Capella is not going to be a big scoring threat, but he's definitely double-double threat. He's going to get you to about 10, 12, maybe even 13 points. But he might snag 20 rebounds. It's that kind of situation with what should be a bit of a pace-up matchup with those two guys, in Dallas and Atlanta going tonight. So give me Capella. And then the guy, the former Pistons. What were you doing in Detroit? Who's running the ship there? Because you let a guy like Christian Wood walk. I'm not sure who's doing the talent evaluation because this guy's getting it done. Houston has a bunch of guys with chips on their shoulder, a very interesting team as we move forward to the season. I talked about Oladipo already. I really think like it's going to be probably pretty popular, but a Houston one side, OKC on the side. You can stack that up any which way you want, and you have a lot of money left over if you play some of the OKC starters along with guys like Oladipo and my man here, Christian Wood. My sleeper at the position, even though I talked about the process of putting work in on him, I think on the other end, Cody Zeller will be able to do some stuff tonight. Cody Zeller has been trending upwards. They don't want to play Bismack Biyombo in Charlotte, so Cody Zeller all day long. Still hasn't caught up price-wise. If I'm looking on DraftKings, 5,800, so he's creeping up a little bit, almost uncomfortable, like a little bit of vinegar with your salad, just a little bit. But Cody Zeller, don't mind him on either side. Probably maybe a more FanDuel guy than DraftKings. So Embiid, Bam, Capella, Christian Wood, and Cody Zeller. So that's my position by position. I'm looking at the clock. We only got 14 minutes left before a lot. I gotta get this going. So strategy, looking at the overall slate tonight, I talked about a little bit. Houston, OKC, it will be very popular, but it's very stackable, and it's a very, there's a lot of reasons it's going to be popular because you can get those pieces that are starting for OKC. Their implied total, in the 105 situation, I think maybe higher. I have to go back and look. But OKC and Houston, very stackable piece. Also stackable game, Philly, Charlotte. Talked about the process. Simmons don't mind as well. Tobias Harris. But then I run it back with, we got Lonzo Ball starting. Excuse me. I saw someone do this. Not Lonzo, LaMelo Ball starting. Don't want shout out to the Ball brothers. Don't want to get them hurt there. But LaMelo in place of Rozier, and then Hayward, and then I get Miles Bridges and Zeller. So that's a big stackable game there with Philly and Charlotte. Pay down from Luka and Giannis. We talked about it at the front. There's no question in a vacuum they're great players. They're top 10 NBA type players. But on a slate this big, you want to get differential and change up stuff a little bit. In terms of the late slate goodness, I see it with that Boston-Sacramento game. We talked about my lock button for De'Aaron Fox, my lock button on Jaylen Brown. On Sacramento, I can even go with a guy like Marvin Bagley, Tyrese Halliburton. Love him a lot tonight as well. And then run it back with, Brown and Tatum. And then maybe even Jeff Teague. But, he's starting more than likely with Kemba taking the night off. So definitely like that late slate goodness. And the last thing, I know we're only at 12 minutes before lot, but think about some bottom-up builds. If you haven't already built, think about starting with the lowest price player at each position that you can live with. Build out a whole lineup that way. Make sure it correlates. Make sure, if you've got one side of, say, Charlotte, you got some back with Philly. One side of Houston, you got some back with OKC. So bottom-up build, see what that looks like, and see if that more than likely is a differentiated lineup that people aren't going to use. If you just find the lowest price person you can stomach at each position and go from there and see what it does, and then you kind of tweak. So it's a different way of building. People do it for the NFL and do it for baseball, bring it into the NBA. So that's a strategy. Giving you Zilla's Hoops crew here with 12 minutes to go. The Hoops crew for tonight. It's my man Tyrese Halliburton out there in Sacramento. His backcourt partner De'Aaron Fox. Victor Oladipo in Houston. Christian Wood also in Houston. Gordon Hayward down in Charlotte. Theo Maldon for OKC. And Jaylen Brown. So that's Zilla's Hoops crew. Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, Victor Oladipo, Christian Wood, Gordon Hayward, Theo Maldon, and Jaylen Brown. Whew. That's it. And we got Q&A. So if there are any questions out there in YouTube land, I'll be happy to answer them between now and lock. Try to run through that really quickly because it's a big slate, man. There's a lot of stuff. I think I'm locked and loaded with most of my lineup. So looking to answer any questions if you guys have. If you do, type them in the chat function. We'll answer them for you. Love to see the engagement. Love to see people involved in the process of what we're trying to build here with the network. So Not seeing any questions. I might start talking about a couple other things I'm seeing on this slate tonight. No questions. No questions for the lineup. Going once, going twice. Oh, Thaddeus Young. Interesting question. Again, it's dependent on the slate, right? So this slate has 10 games. So for Young, let me look at his price on DraftKings. I'm not, inclined to pick a guy like that on this kind of night. This kind of night, there's so many. It's just kind of a crazy night because you can hit it from so many different angles. In terms of, he's 5,900 on a site like DraftKings. Cannot endorse using Thaddeus Young on tonight's slate. I don't see it for me personally. Let me go over to FanDuel and see where Mr. Young is at. Yeah, no, I definitely see no Wendell Carter, and he's a consummate pro, Thaddeus Young. But I just feel like there's so many other places to go. I would prefer Marvin Bagley if you're playing GPPs because you're looking for that upside. Don't really see, huge upside from Thad Young. Let me look at Thad Young on FanDuel here. He's at the small forward position, it looks like. You love how the sites can't get it straight and just get us all in one correction. No, I'm not seeing him there either. See where he's at. Let's see where Mr. Young is at on FanDuel. Either way, irrespective, I'm not playing him. I think people can feel free to play him if they want, but I would not recommend on a slate like this. So they got him at center. No way I would put him. You look at even out of that game, I would prefer Mitchell Robinson than Thad Young in that matchup. So I'm not feeling him. There's too much equity at center. I can tell you 3 plays on either side of him that I would rather play. Cody Zeller, even though he may be in foul trouble, Mitchell Robinson, Jakob Podol, that's just below Thad Young, and slightly above him, Al Horford, a little bit, he's a little bit above him. Al Horford at 65, or even Rashawn Holmes all the way up at 7. There's a lot again, on a smaller slate, maybe get away with Thad Young, but no reason to go that route on this slate. And again, if I get beat by Thaddeus Young, it wasn't my night. I'm gonna go watch, I'm gonna go watch Australian rules football. It's just not my right, This is not my night. Maybe not Bridgerton, but I'm not gonna watch it. All right, 7 minutes to go. Any other questions? Yeah, no problem. Just gotta, again, I'm one voice in the wilderness of DFS, one solitary voice. So feel free to do what you all want to do. I'm just here providing you the context about why I'm taking the picks. But yeah, can't endorse a Thaddeus Young, especially going up against the Knicks and their defense. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? We talked about late slate. I'm gonna talk about it till I'm blue in the face, which is gonna take difficult for me. But we want Boston, Sacramento on a slate like this tonight. Definitely some equity in using some of those later slate players. Looking at it again, New Orleans is in an okay spot. Going up against Phoenix. There's pieces on that late slate that you might want to get away or try to use in your builds. 6 minutes to go. So, most of you should already have your lineups ready and just be firing those away. So, any other questions before we shut it down? Heard a little DMX the other day. For the younger listeners, DMX, I get you hype, get you ready to go. If you want to listen to some DMX, I'll get you right where you need to be. Okay. Hearing no more questions and seeing no more questions, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to Hoops Hysteria, part of the Zilla Sports Network. We come at you every Wednesday right up before lock, trying to get your lineups built and ready. As always, if you have questions, you can at me. I'm at Zilla Sports Net on Twitter. Here in YouTube, you found me. You got the YouTube channel, Zilla Sports Network. www.zillasportsnetwork.com, where you can go, you can sign up, you can become a member, get into our Discord, which is hot fire. Get in that Discord. We're talking all day long, all hours long. We provide for our members in there tips and sheets and tools to be better DFS players across a variety of sports. $9.99 for the month, $99.99 for the year. You ain't gonna find better bargain anywhere else. And we're just constantly building up content, building up that network, try to get members in that and in the door that way. So you can find me in a variety of different places. Very accessible. Love sharing my insights with you guys. So without further ado, y'all be easy, be profitable, and thanks for tuning in to Zilla Sports Network's Hoops Hysteria on this Wednesday night. Peace.